Cold.
So you can feel the coldness.
Exactly. That's what the weather is already bringing this lovely Friday morning to us here on ABS, where we're bringing you today's episode on Good Morning Anambra. And today we want to be talking about World Literacy Day. And today happens to be the 8th day of September, and that's the day set out by United Nations to celebrate literacy. And then, for us to be here talking and then you watching us, that means there's a tint of literacy between us here.
I'll ask you, how have you fared with literacy? How has it affected your life?
It has affected my life in so many ways, in judgmental decisions taken, you understand, and being of use to myself, my family, and the society at large. So I would say literacy, don't mind those motivational speakers that will come up and tell you that education is scam. If education is scam, that language in which he is using to communicate with you, is that language his mother tongue? How come did he learn that? So that's a lot, and a whole lot more we'll be talking about literacy and the importance and development of it as regards Nigeria and other nations.
And so the theme for this year's World Literacy Day is promoting literacy for world in transition. You know, the world is moving,
of course,
and it's changing day by day. And then building the foundation for sustainable and peaceful societies. If education does not give us peace, I don't know what else
will give. You understand? That means we'll have been living in the jungle. You understand? Still living like cavemen, and then the early men, so to say. Education and literacy, especially, is very, very key in every nation development.
Yes, and here to discuss this are very experienced educationists and civil society activists. First, we have Sir Go Ezeonu. Sir Go Ezeonu is actually the founder of Save a Soul for Africa Foundation. We'll say welcome to ABS.
Thank you.
And happy rainy day.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Please, you keep close to the television and be our guest.
Okay, we also have here Oke Onyeka. He is a civil society activist. And as we go along, he will tell us actually from which area of the civil society activism he is from. So, okay, you're welcome.
We're glad to be here. Thanks very much.
Okay,
it's always a pleasure to be here. Quickly, let us go. Promoting literacy for a world in transition and building a foundation, you understand, for literacy. Sir Egonu, in a layman terms, can you define what literacy means so that somebody out there watching us will definitely give us a platform on which to begin?
That's okay. Literacy, in a layman's language, is ability to read and write. Ability to read and write. And I remember that wonderful parent who was insulted by his neighbors for not being able to write his name. And he sent his son to school and called him John. I sent you to school.
Why don't you sing that song?
To know how to write.
To spell Jambul. Wow.
John. I sent you to school to learn how to spell Jambul. John. I sent you to school to learn how to spell Jambul. If learning how to spell Jambul was enough, that was okay.
Would have been okay.
Yes, so that is that. Ability to read and write. Some people cannot write their names. Some people cannot read what is written. Some people cannot sign their signatures. In such a case, they cannot bank or receive from banks. Literacy is important.
Okay, that's good. Thank you so much. Quickly, what are the key challenges Nigeria faces in achieving sustainable literacy with the modern trend of trying to get the entire world literate?
And when we're talking about Nigeria, we're also talking about our state.
Yeah, Anambra.
Well, thank you very much. It's really very important to talk about education in Nigeria and literacy because it has been dragging for long that good attention has not been given to education in Nigeria. Education, literacy, muta, to read, to write, numeracy. And now this year they're talking about also the digital skills.
Yeah.
You know, the world is really moving very fast. We have just come out of COVID, and during the COVID time, people got worried really that many children are being left behind because the digital skills are not available for us to have distant learning. and the infrastructure. So Anambra State was really scrambling that time to see how to extend learning to so many children that are in the villages, in communities that have been out of school for almost a year. But then, you see, it takes us back to some of the challenges we are talking about in terms of the necessary resources, financial resources, material resources, to really get these things working. Now, education in Nigeria has not been well funded. We've got the necessary policies in place, we've got the laws in place. But then, funding it requires the will, prioritization to really fund it. If you look at the budgetary trends in our both federal and state governments, you will discover that they've not really given enough attention to funding education. If I come down to Anambra State, in the past 8 years or so, we have a lot of money at the bank account, which government...
As Universal Basic Education Account.
Universal Basic Education Commission Fund, which requires the government pays their own counterpart fund to draw down the money. They've not been doing so. I think the last time it was paid off was when P2B was there. So the thing accumulated to 4.something billion when the past administration just paid a bit of it, leaving about 400 million. And then the thing got up to over 3.something billion. I think the current administration has just paid a bit of it to them, I think last year. So. But then the good story is that they've tried to get what they accumulate or build a fund. The Ministry of Economic Planning, they call a counterpart fund from where they'll be paying. But then to pay it is the thing. So the point I'm trying to make is that devoting financial resources to fund education is very important. And governments have not really shown that commitment. If you look at the various commitments across the world in terms of funding education, they've not even meeting up to 30-20% of it. But I tell you that it's not even the size of the percentage that governments are required to pay in terms of their commitments or their budgetary programs. That's important. But that little they are budgeted, let them implement it. Because if you look at the trend, it's really disheartening that enough attention is not being given to education. And I remember as a child, one of the things I see about China is the face of a child that is hungry and crying. But look at what they are doing today because of education. So when I'm talking about literacy, it's about reading, about writing, about numeracy, about learning other things from other places. Because education is the really foundation for transformative life in terms of building peace, in terms of social, economic rights. So if somebody cannot read and write, how can you learn what's happening across the globe? So I think really governments across Nigeria need to give this attention. I remember when we were small, just like we started with singing, they said, akwụkwọ na-atọ ụtọ ọ na-afịa arụ na mmụta onye were nkasi obi ọ ga-amụta akwụkwọ ma ọ bụrụ na nne gị na nna gị enweghị. So it comes back to the money. Yeah. The parents are committing resources, yes, and government has to commit resources equally to get this done. If you go to the schools, you don't have libraries. If you go to the schools, you don't have teaching equipment. Many schools don't even have teachers. We have made situations in the communities where one teacher teaches two different classes, or situations where two classes of different levels are merged. And you wonder, what guide would the teacher use? Is it the guide of level 2 or level 3 or level 4 that he used to teach? So teachers are placed in such difficult situations that they can't even teach effectively because they're teaching people in different grades. Okay. So when the current administration came in Anambra State, they recruited 5,000 teachers. But that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we saw in various communities. We can give details of what's really happening across schools in Anambra State, and it's really not impressive as a matter of fact.
So the decay has, garnered momentum over the years.
It has garnered momentum, and the current administration, I think, is trying to tackle it. But they must have to commit resources. They must have to commit energy to it. If I give you an example of school enrollment, in 2016, Anambra State reached the peak in terms of school enrollment about 0-something thousand. But then it started sliding. In fact, the gradient is so sharp that it came to about 200-something.
Are you talking based on research you've done?
Yes,
with your
this
group?
is government published data.
Okay.
Bureau of Statistics data. If you take 2018, 2019 published data of Bureau of Statistics,
the enrollment is actually dwindling.
Went down to 200-something.
Okay.
1,000. We published it, we gave to the Ministry of Education. We had a meeting with them. Recently, we had a meeting with them and brought it to their attention. You can see the gradient, steep. In 2013, I think it inched up a little. But then, we don't have the current data. We would prefer to use government data on this so that they don't dispute it.
Okay, thank you.
So the SBS need to be supported by government to publish the data because that provides them the...
It has not been published.
Yes, I think SBS has not published the data.
National Bureau of Statistics. Okay.
I mean the state here for the past 2 years or so.
Have you engaged them? Have you tried to engage them?
Because they asked them to give us data. They said they've not published. So
okay.
if you look at their budget, I think they've not been given support in that as well. So financial resources is important.
Very important. Thank you.
Important.
Thank you very much. Okay. You know, let's get to Selgezono. We all know that every parent will want to train their children through education. In fact, it's a basic responsibility of parents. But sometimes they find out that when some policies seem to favor the child or the family in education, then some of the things that parents do actually, you know, glaringly says that parents don't even want their children to get, you know, educated. They are ready to enroll them in big schools, no matter how good the teachers are. They're ready to sponsor their, their external examinations in special centers. So how can parents, how have parents contributed in making sure that education is dwindling over the day?
Thank you very much. As you rightly said, some parents place their interest above the interest of the children. What do I mean by that? A parent may say, I want my child to be a medical doctor. I want my child to be an engineer. I don't know how many of them would say that I want my child to be an agriculturist. Whatever is the case, and they go all out to ensure that these children in their schools are never delayed, whether they have worked hard or not. That is the point. The essence of school is to ensure that students learn, and if they don't learn at the first sitting, they will be given opportunity to learn at the second sitting. But then parents will say, oh no. How much would you take to promote my child to next class, whether he has passed or not? And like what is trending now in Nigeria, I don't know if it's true or not, that if you have money, you can turn truth into, you can turn false into truth. I don't know if it's true or not.
Still disputable.
I don't know. But then the fact is that if they succeed in pushing their children from primary school to secondary school to university, and then even the university, they go and befriend the HOD, befriend the lecturers, and make sure they are kept comfortable with gifts and things like that, and even inviting the lecturers to their homes, and eventually they become pals to the lecturers. And the children, some of such children don't go to lectures. And others struggle to go to lectures, struggle to do their assignments, struggle to put in their field work experiences, while these people go and relax in canteens, drinking and making merry. Why? Daddy and mommy have taken care of my tomorrow. And eventually the result will come. While others who studied hard, who did their assignments, who wrote their term papers and things like that, would be sure that they will make it. And then they will be expecting to hear that those children who were not going to school with them will fail. Some of them will glaringly see the result. The non-class attendance making first class, while the studious, active participants in school activities, some of them end up in 2-2, even third class. What moral justification does this scenario give our children? So I'm trying to say that such parents, when identified, should be arrested. They should be arrested because they are toying with the future of not their children, but the nation. It is such people when they graduate and they end up in the hospital, it's such people that kill people in the hospital. I know of a woman who went to a reputable hospital around here, and the doctor, who is known to be very, very knowledgeable about his profession, trained here in Nigeria, trained outside Nigeria, went to as far as Israel to learn. And this doctor examined this woman and gave instruction, gave prescription that the nurses will give the woman what they call intravenous injection. Intravenous. That means through the veins. But this nurse, who knows how she studied, instead of giving the woman intravenous injection, gave the woman intramuscular injection.
Was there Caesar?
And that caused that woman hell of pain for years. And that hand got swollen. And they went all out, drinking antibiotics, doing all this, and the woman would not sleep for many years, for many months, until eventually the woman was sent to the same doctor, who now said, what happened? Looked at it, X-ray was taken. As a matter of fact, when the X-ray was taken in the hospital here, the X-ray operator said, he was afraid that that hand would be cut, because the intramuscular injection effect has affected the bone.
Wow.
And has burnt the bone. You can imagine.
Wow.
You know? So, it's true that it is being approached medically now, but every year that hand would give this woman problem.
And probably they are succeeding, maybe because there are no penalties for
That is why I said before that if such parents are identified, no matter how highly placed they are, they should be arrested.
What about the centers? Somebody gave authority for them to be established.
And that's the thing. That is another story of that side of the coin. Who are the people who authorize such centers?
Okay, let me get back to okay. In a world that is constantly evolving, you understand, how can literacy, education, adaptation, you understand, prepare individuals for a change, for a changing future in retrospect, Nigeria?
Thank you. I just want to latch on this lecture was trying to give.
Okay, just a bit, and then you go into the question.
Because it still goes back to the issue of being prepared to deliver quality education. Quality education is not being prepared, and so kids are not really confident facing exams. That is the matter. Kids are not confident to face exams, because if we have the necessary infrastructures in place, if you have the necessary teaching equipment, the teachers are trained. How many times have teachers gone for training here in Anambra State, for example? The last time we checked, they were not doing it. How many teachers are in the classroom that are qualified and retrained every year? These are some of the things that needs to be done to get kids prepared for exams. Yes, exams, kids get afraid when exams are coming. But at the same time, if they were well prepared, they come for exams confidently, and all things being equal, they will pass. So that is the thing we need to transit from where we are.
Training and retraining of teachers.
Retraining, equipping schools, providing the basic infrastructures. Now, the world is talking about digital education. Our schools prepared for it. If you look at our budget, does it really provide for it? We cannot pay counterpart funds to draw down money to provide for these things. What are we really talking about? We don't have enough resources in terms of revenue to do that. But then, that one that is given to us to draw down to equip schools, to furnish schools, to train teachers, we are not drawing it. Does it make sense? So we cannot really move from where we are, and we cannot stop getting the quality of students we have until we begin to fund education. Education is the basis for everything. I'll give an example of when I was a child. The impression I have about China is that it's a place where you have hungry people. But look at what they have done with education. Look at Japan. I was actually reading sometime that before the Second World War that Japan was afraid that they would be defeated. And they were pumping a lot of money into the education system. In fact, this thing we're calling UBE here, Universal Basic Education, China was started doing it before the Second World War. You could see that they were prepared in terms of quality of students they were producing from their schools, and that's why immediately after the war they took off. If you use Anambra State, for example, the Southeast Igbos, for example, after the war, our people took off in their businesses and started doing, because they already were trained in business. They were trained in so many things. They started doing all those things. The knowledge they have did not leave them. That's what happened in China. So if we don't begin to put money into education, to get the necessary equipment, training the teachers in terms of literacy, in terms of the new knowledges that are required to transit, we cannot transit.
Okay, you talked about UBE as a policy of government. That is UBE actually working based on what we have in our curriculum? And you talked about China succeeding in its UBE. Do you understand? So what about us? Have we ever had any policy that has succeeded in this country?
UBE has not succeeded. If UBE is succeeding, the problem is that before a child leaves JS3, that
was the 6334 system of education.
That the person should be employable. That you must have acquired some basic skills before you leave the junior secondary school. That's the policy. Now, if you look at the ground, if you get to the schools, you have the necessary materials to get this done. It's not done.
So do we redesign our curriculum?
It's not a matter of redesigning the curriculum, but they put the infrastructure in place, because the policy has been there and all the necessary provisions have been made. If you go through the final basic education curriculum and the infrastructure that are required to be put in place, the government has not really bothered to put this in place. And they're talking about billions here and there, billions in security, billions in agriculture, billions in education, but you see it. Look at during the COVID, they were telling us they were spending about 500 million naira to feed out of the children that are on holidays. That kind of money is what they could use to lay the infrastructure.
But okay, I'll still want to talk more on this. You're talking about funding.
Yes.
I bet you, even if the money were available, the curriculum of what is being taught in this part of the world is not even in tandem with what we as indigenous people are. Take, for instance, every part of Anambra, Nigeria is endowed with one mineral resource or one trade or one skills. Most of these schools don't even teach that. You go to the north where they have hide and seek. Do you have a school where they teach children, even in primary school, the values of hide and seek? You come to Oka where we have metal works and what is it called, Ozu. How many schools in Anambra State are teaching children how foundry where children can go and even make metals and stuffs? You're talking about China. China advanced to achieve that, but we are not even having it there. And you've not said anything about this, but you keep talking about funding. When the fund comes, what will you be teaching children? Is it drawing caterpillar or naming cockroaches? We should be teaching these kids.
I remember what Chinduma said yesterday, that she was taught how to draw caterpillar.
Trace caterpillar.
I don't know if she has ever seen caterpillar before.
You understand? So our education, or rather our curriculum, based on the funding you're even talking about, should be geared towards making these children even entrepreneurs before they leave primary school, before they even leave the JSS you're talking about. That is what I expect to hear from you, since you're from the government.
That's the area my discussion are really going to, because when you're talking about basic skills, what are skills? It's about the explanations you have given, that we're required to put the necessary infrastructure, equipment in place to teach them. That's what I mean. And that each area should actually define what
the curriculum.
I think he's emphasizing on the curriculum, the content. Even if you have the infrastructure and the curriculum isn't what you want it to be,
you still about these skills that you require.
Yes.
Actually, when Charlie, blessed memory, is at the ANSEPIP, we started discussing that each area has some advantages over others. There are certain skills some secondary schools in particular areas may have to learn. Like foundry, there are areas that are better known for it. You could begin to equip the schools in these regards. There are areas that are good in agriculture. You can begin to teach children there some of these skills. So when we're talking about skills, we're talking about skills that are relevant to your place. So we're not talking about things that are really very far-fetched. It's about children knowing how to do some of these basic things.
Because it's found within their locality.
That's what I'm talking about. To equip the schools to be able to enable children to do some of these things.
Okay. Now, so here's on.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to add one or two things,
Yeah.
but what I actually wanted to talk about is about technology. It appears that, since the advent of ICT, it has taken over the training about and teaching about children from us. For instance, WhatsApp will give you a lot of information that you need. You go to Google, you get a lot of information that you need.
And you now have ChatGPT.
ChatGPT will just write everything
write tests for you and everything.
So where are we going? Has technology taken over? Is it making it worse than we met it? How can we improve matching along with technology? Is it possible?
Well, this is a very interesting question. I can tell you, you see, when we were asking this question, my mind ran back tens of years behind. When in the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, when I was undergoing my first degree, some assignments would be given to us to go and research and write. One would live in Nsukka and go to the library, make a little research in the books we find there, maybe not getting enough, and in attempt to make sure you get a higher grade, we would leave in Nsukka and go to Ibadan to visit the library. I'm from Ibadan. One will tell you that there are some books in Maiduguri University. You can go. We will fly from Ibadan to Maiduguri. And from Maiduguri, they can tell you, well, there is one at Calabar. Just to do assignments. Just to do assignments. And we took all those risks, not minding the road and the hazards here and there. But today, technology is here.
AI is writing it for you.
Fine. Just punch up the computer and it will bring everything to you. You can even open your mouth and say, please, what is technology?
It will tell you.
I will tell you. Voice. You just need and a lot of explanations. You just lecturer look at it. Lecturer cannot say no because the content is not false. The truth is not in technology. The truth is in the children. Working hard to harness even the essence of technology, even though it will make a lot of them lazy. That is the truth. But then, we shall not all suffer like those in the ancient ages like we went through. But then, can these children, as a matter of fact, there is no reason why a child now would go for a reference after university education. No reason. Absolutely no reason. When you just Google and get the answer, when you just do it, why should you fail? But can they have the tenacity to go and search for these facts? That is the problem. Because, remember, our original background, their parents, some of their parents
have watered the ground.
Water the ground, not to worry.
Not to worry.
I will pay. Just don't worry. Go and take tea. I will see the lecturers. All I know is my child must be a medical doctor, boy, junior doctor, and the child will do like this. It's not the case that with technology, even without the father paying, you can see that something has the background education, giving the child even the impetus or knowledge to utilize the technology, which is supposed to be improvement on human development. That is the problem. That is the problem. So I can say that technology is not bad. I can tell, okay, take for instance, before the financial crunch in Nigeria, how many of you have actually heard of POS? How many of you have actually heard of transfer? You will have money in the bank, but you cannot get access to that. But if you have the app, you can transfer. It was technology that taught even the illiterate traders that money can be transferred to you and you get the alert. And say, okay, I've seen the alert. Okay, without cash, collect, I've seen it. That's technology for you. It's technology that makes people now go to banks and affiliate with them and get the POS machine. And when that thing was at the peak, when I remember it, it beats my heart. You go and need 10,000 naira.
Of your own money?
Of your own money. And I was charged sometimes up to 4,000.
It was terrible.
To take my 10,000. That means I will look for 10,000 and I pay 4,000. That in effect, I have taken 6,000 instead of 4,000. That was terrible, as bad as that. But then, we had no option. I was doing some work in the village, and the workers wouldn't want to hear negad roll. There's no money. All they demanded was, at the end of your job, got money. Sometimes you will make the transfer and it will not land, and you have the problem. So technology is not the issue. The issue with us is value system. Have we harnessed the positive impact of technology to our own personal development?
Okay,
quickly.
Okay.
Let's take a break now. If you just joined us, this is ABS Television, and today is International Literacy Day, and we are celebrating literacy for those who are literate, and then trying to take a look at things that will upgrade our literacy level. And then make it workable, make it affect development in Nigeria and in Anambra, of course. And so we've been here with Oke Onyeka, who is a civil society activist, and of course Ogo Ezono, who is the founder of Save a Soul for Africa Foundation. Right now we want to get into the streets and find out how people feel about how far we've gone as far as literacy is concerned in this country. We'll be right back.
Get people enlightened and educated. Getting people educated is the way to promote it. Because once one is educated, the person will know his rights, will know his do's and don'ts.
Through education, since there is everyone has access to education, and if everyone could think of it in the right way and then get themselves equipped through education and through sensitization, then surely people will get to understand their rights and then know more of their rights and then be able to act or respond rather when their rights are tampered with.
So promoting such education needs frequent meeting of people and educating them on the equality of every human being. Making them to understand that every human being has a right to be respected, has a dignity to be protected. There's nobody that is above the other. I think we need to meet people, educate people, and it's not going to be just one organization, but everybody's obligation. That's how I see it.
Knowledge applied is power. There is nothing like knowledge. Most of the times we see the world from our own perspective, but not actually what the world is all about. So when we go about educating people on the right things to know, I think it will change a whole lot of things. It will definitely change a whole lot of things. So I believe the power of administering knowledge and also encouraging those that you administer the knowledge to actually work with the knowledge. Not only about getting to know about something, but actually practicing what you learn.
First thing is literacy, second thing is human rights. The thing there is that how many people know their rights? How many people even understand that, look, this is their right? So to start with, educating the people about their right has to do even from the rudimentary, from the primary. I can believe very well that hardly you see anybody who teach you about human rights until you get to the university where we've been taught citizenship education, and you get that in the curriculum. What about the primary? What about the secondary? So teaching the people about their right is very, very important. Teaching them is one. Making sure also people exercise that right freely is also another thing. Because you can actually know your right, but you don't know actually where to go when your right is being trampled upon. So that is also another hindrance. So teaching them is very important.
Good morning, Anambra. Well, we've heard the people there out on the street, our local parliamentarians, telling us the importance of education, teaching right from the primary school down to the university level, inculcating the curriculum of civil rights into the children very, very early. And we still have the gentlemen in the studio that will be telling us more on today's topic. We're talking about literacy and how it affects us and then the world at large. Quickly, let me get back to you. Okay. We heard what some of the people there were talking about, education and the key. But I want to take it a step further, that education, literacy, liberates a mind. You understand? The best way to, will I say, unshackle someone's mind and imagination is to properly educate that person, and then the person gets to know. But in this part of the world, we find that there are certain areas where we don't want the citizens to know things. Like now, you walk into the police station, average Nigerians don't even know their rights. They're led from their rights. As today being the Literacy Day, is there no campaign to make Nigerians be aware of the basics that is in their society, in their constitution, so that they can be better citizens?
Yeah, what I said is actually right, that it should be incorporated in the school curriculum and teaching for people to know their basic right. Actually, when I looked into what my kids were reading those days, they said there's no more history. That is civic education. I actually was thinking that some of these things should be incorporated there, about basic human rights, those guarantees in Chapter 4 of our Constitution, that people should be made to understand these things in the basic education. And again, you see, it has to do with the kind of commitment the government has. I still go to government because government is the chief motivator in terms of realizing these things. But then where the government is failing, people in the society should really rise up and say that this is what they want in terms of demanding that they be incorporated into the basic education curriculum and actually teaching them. Yeah, you see, one of the commentators was talking about the right to education and all that. Actually, it's a right. And according to the UNESCO and as one international standards, that money should not be a reason why a child should not go to school, should not be able to learn. There are international arrangements and regional arrangements that are in place that will enable governments to assess the necessary support to give basic education to children. But the challenge all this while has been, are those who are implementing those policies really serious to get them done? I've just talked about the big fund. You can imagine what 1 billion naira can do in basic education in terms of providing the necessary equipment to enable these things to be happening. So it's about commitment. These policies are in place, but they're not being implemented. They're in the shelf, gathering dust. If we have had enough commitment, why should the teachers not be employed? Why should the equipment not be bought? Why can't we design our education to reflect the kind of needs we have in our society, in our community, in our industries, to relate education to industry, to relate education to employment, what the private sector wants, so that people get employable, so that when people come out of school, they could be employed. It is because people graduate, they come out, they have no jobs, they're walking around. You see someone has graduated for about 4, 5, 6 years, he doesn't have a job. Parents get upset really.
Thank you.
Why send my children to school?
Thank you. Okay, we are running out of time actually, and while you were talking, I was taking a look at the level of dropouts that we have in society. Most times when you interview them, they talk about the remuneration. It's not worth it. And then the other one is that you've seen those who've gone to school and their lives are not changing. Somebody who's learned will go out, take sachet water, and then drop it on the street. Somebody who's a professor will be taken to, take care of elections on election day. Then when it comes out, he won't give you the result. So the man who is not literate will ask you, why should I go to school? Is it not because some of us that have gone to school are not living up to expectations? So how do we get away from this web?
It's actually...
How do we get out of it? Those of us that are enlightened and educated, what do we do to make others come into our side of the story? More people.
Yes. Well, whatever is the case, we have to whip for our society. We really have to whip for our society, because children, copy from their parents. Children, copy from whoever they call role model. Those who want to study law would look on their judges at their role model, dreaming to reach that level. because when they reach that level, they become the gods of law, and whatever they say is taken as final. But the society should believe that that finality is the justice they profess. But then, looking at what we are seeing today, it is enough to tell every Israelite to go to his or her tent and then scatter. But we shall not scatter. We shall not scatter. What we shall do, according to your question, is to building up our value system. Building up our value system. Teach children, starting from your own children. And before you teach them, examine yourself. Because the best teacher should be yourself. Teach children that I have reached this level because of hard work. I worked hard. I was brought up by illiterate parents who, instead of enjoying themselves, spent all they had, even selling their lands, to send me to school. And it is this I have used to reach the level I have trained you, my children. Please, hard work pays. Do not mind those people who are cutting corners. I want to tell you that you will be happier to work hard and get at a place. Abraham Lincoln, I think the 16th president of America, tried all he could to win. He didn't win until eventually he won. And then, even when he was president of America, he took out time to teach his child how to read and write, literacy. To teach his child how to read and write. You can imagine a person in Nassau Rock, surrounded by police and army. Finally, okay, bring me Junior, let me teach him how to read and write. Abraham Lincoln did that. And then after preparing the child from, in the house, he sent the child to school. He didn't stop at that. He didn't go to sleep. He wrote a letter to the teacher of the child in school. One of the things the teacher, Abraham Lincoln wrote for the teacher to take as a key is teach him that it is better to fail than to cheat. Look at that. It is better to fail and to cheat. When you fail, learn why you fail, retake the exam, and when you pass, you'll be proud of yourself. Teach him that a kobo earned is more valuable than thousands given. Teach him that. Teach him that it is more honorable to follow the hard way instead of following the bandwagon. Teach him that. That is value system for Abraham Lincoln. And with that, if we can do that down here, I think it should be a good story to tell.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It sounded like words from the elders.
Of course.
Yeah.
It is words from the elders, and that's how.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
On this note, we want to thank our guest this morning for availing us the opportunity to touch on the topic Literacy Day as given by UNESCO. And definitely we will get to do this again some other time. I want to thank in no little measure Sir Ogo Ezon, who founded Save a Soul for Africa Foundation. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you.
And Oke Onyeka is civil society activist. Actually, you're really doing a good job.
Yeah,
thank you so much for being here. You're welcome.
Civil rights concern, okay.
Thank you so much for being here. And then to my Oyisi here. Ifeoluwa, thank you so much together for anchoring
for
this.
For saying Oyisi on air. We're going to ask your lecturer some questions. I want to thank everybody that joined us. Know that if we are literate, our society should be affected positively. If it's not affected positively, then we'll have to go back to school. That's what I feel. Of course. And then we were told in university that when you go out of the university, you're being built in character, worthy of the certificate that you're definitely brandishing. So on that note, we say thank you so much, and then we'll definitely get to do it next week on Good Morning Anambra. Our regards to Chidinma. You know,
Okay,
she's
Rita.
out there.
She was caught up in the rain.
Yeah, but she's here in the studios. Thanks a lot for your support, the whole crew. For now, let's stand by for the sports today. Thank you.